Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this LinkedIn Live with Naeem Atta, who is going to be talking to us about digital twins. Digital twins. I keep seeing that word, that phrase, digital twins. First of all, Naeem, introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. Hi, Sam. Hi, everybody, and thanks, everybody, for joining our live stream. I'm Naeem Atta, CEO of Digicorp, and I've been in the IT space for a good 30 odd years. So most of I'll do a quick intro because it'd be good to give a bit of background as well. Most of my early life has been involved with designing and implementing mission critical software systems. So I started my career in defense, doing work for Royal Air Force, the Navy, and then I moved into the energy sector. And I spent quite a bit of time there. And during that time, I had exposure to simulations, or at the time they were called digital models. So that was where I initially got interested in what's now called digital twins. And that's me in as far as Digicorp is concerned. I established that back in 2015, and really we've kind of evolved into being a digital twinning specialist, as opposed to being aiming for it and going with it with all our heart. A lot of the exposure I had personally in my early career was all around simulation models and digital twinning. And then that kind of brought me into this new world of digital twinning, which actually it is very similar to sims and simulations. So, with that growing awareness of digital twinning, that generally that's out there in the market now, our focus for Digicorp is primarily on sustainability. So, and in probably more recently in the last few years, we've seen there's much more awareness of the benefits of digital twins, and obviously that's one of the reasons we're doing this live stream. And thanks to people like David Mckee, who's unfortunately not here, we'll discuss that in a minute. Thanks to the work they're doing, there's a lot of awareness, and we've had great growth, immense growth, I'd say, and our trajectory for expansion has been pretty much exponential in the digital space. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me and a little bit about Digicorp, and really the future runway is very positive at the moment. We've got continual interest in Digicorp, and we're looking to work with more and more partners, and our expectations of growth are currently UK and within the MENA region, particularly the Middle East. So yeah, that's about me and Digicorp. And you might want to say something about David, Sam.
Yes, unfortunately, David, who will be joining us today, he had a bit of a family emergency. So we all understand that. We've been there. So I hope everything's going to be okay. So thank you so much for joining us. Hissam has just joined us. I hope you said your name right there. He says, great to see you again, Naeem and Samantha. Thank you so much. Yeah, so for people joining, though, that people like me, let's say, Naeem, I mean, I don't know what a digital twin is. Can you explain to me what is a digital twin exactly?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been great to have David here because he's very much formal with his definitions, and him and the Digital Twin Consortium have done some great work. I'll speak in layman's terms because that's how I see it. That's how I prefer also explaining things. But in terms of, I would say the easiest thing to explain what a digital twin is really to take an example. And although the phrase has been coined and has been is getting hyped more recently, but I'd take everybody back to probably April 14, 1970. So that's when Apollo 13. You guys have probably seen the movie as well. Apollo 13, there was an explosion about 200,000 miles away from Earth in that spacecraft. And there was significant damage to the engine, and there was depletion of oxygen. I think it was one of the oxygen tanks that burst, actually. But to the rescue came what was at the time called a SIM, or what we now call a digital twin. NASA had highly sophisticated simulators, and what they did was they configured those simulators to be in the same state as the damaged aircraft. So, mass, center of gravity, engine thrust, all those sort of parameters, and they configured the aircraft to be that. And then what they did was they started getting live, the data transmissions they were getting from aircraft. They started feeding that into the simulators. And with that, they were able to practice using burners in the most optimal way, because it was touch and go whether they had enough fuel, and if they overused the burners, then that would have been a problem. So they successfully practiced on the simulator using the burners, and once they'd perfected it, that's what they used to do the actual movement of the aircraft using the same sequence of burners. So they've been around for a long time. So it's just that the phrase has been coined more recently, and to be honest, it's pretty much, if you look at the original simulators, there were a lot of their simulations and a lot of the models were, possibly statistical and mathematical. Whereas now, with the advent of AI and you can use data, historical data, to mimic the behavior of things. So now, if the same scenario would have been now, they would have used probably AI to simulate how the aircraft would behave, and that would be, if done correctly, that would be much more accurate even than a straightforward simulator.
And so what kind of digital projects would we know of now? Like what digital projects are you working on at the moment, for example?
Yeah, so there's a couple of digital twin problems that we're working that are quite large. It's worth mentioning those. We're working with UK's National Air Traffic Services to create the world's first live digital twin of the UK airspace. That'd be quite an incredible achievement. We're hoping that can go live sometime in Q1. But it's just a case of getting all the right feeds from all the various towers and getting all the radar signal data and getting all that processed. But that's quite fascinating because the utility for that would be you could train air traffic control officers on that. You've got a live scenario of the airspace, and you can take air traffic control officers and get them to train on live data. Rather than training on the actual aircraft. So that's good. And it also helps with situational awareness and scenario planning. So, and optimizing air traffic operations. So, I think the Royal Air Force were interested in planning scenarios like if we ran a jet across the airspace at Heathrow, what would it do to the traffic, and what other capacity in airports would we have to open up in the surrounding areas to facilitate getting traffic back to normal. So there's all sorts of scenarios that can be played for that particular digital twin. Another project that I'm also that's very dear to me as well is we're working with one of our clients, KAUST, so that's King Abdullah University Institute of Science and Technology from Saudi Arabia, and they're doing an incredible project in the Red Sea. They're looking to plant and grow 2 million corals over the next 5 years, and it's by far the biggest coral restoration initiative in the world.
That's amazing, actually. Can I just stop you there? Because so what would you be doing? Tell me a little bit more about that. I mean, the coral reefs is such a huge, important part, and you're really into sustainability. So tell me a little bit more about how that's going to work.
Yeah, so we're at the early stages of that project. So it's a 5-year program. We're in I think month 8 or month 9, and things are already shaping up quite well. So we're effectively the leading sort of digital solution provider for that. And the idea is, if you're doing things on that scale, it's on an industrial scale, it's got to be optimized and implemented in the most efficient way. And and we're looking at streamlining coral collection, propagation, outplanting, workflow management, and monitoring and visualizations. And the heart of that is a digital twin, and with advanced artificial intelligence. And what the way it works is it's with all the sensors in the reef and the video and all the IoT devices that are there, all the data that comes back, that's utilized along with that's utilized initially to live stream and create situational awareness. So it's great for monitoring, but it also, in combination with advanced AI and analytics, you can start predicting. You can start looking at the health of corals, predict growth, detect early signs of disease, and so the idea is it kind of it facilitates that, and it also accelerates R&D, so that, and which gets fed back in, so that the marine biologists can look at, in certain conditions certain corals thrive, and in certain conditions other corals thrive, and they can use deep insights to find out what is the optimal way to grow corals. And if you can increase the growth rate of corals, and how do they behave, whether it's probiotics or whatever it may be. So that's an incredible project. And
Yeah.
one of the things, Sam, that that's key with that is clearly all the data collection and reporting, but also creating collaboration environments, because ideally, it's a great initiative, and they want researchers and institutions around the world to come and research on this platform. And so we have to create trusted research environments so the data is secure, and it integrates coral reef data with third-party data and external other data sources. So the idea is they can run experiments and further our understanding of coral reef systems. So that's the closest to my heart. But both of those projects are really absolutely amazing, and we've got so much support from within the kingdom on sustainability projects within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They really are. They're really accelerating innovation, and I'd just like to say, Sam, it's sort of it's really quite admirable what the amount of effort that's going into sustainability in that part of the region. And looking back right now, innovation and R&D sit in certain parts of the world, but going back, back to possibly the earlier times, there was a time where that part of the world was the world leader in science. So it's no surprise to me that part of the world wants to step up and work in those areas and be the world's leader in innovation. So yeah, we're absolutely excited. Digicorp is absolutely thrilled to be part of all of this work within the kingdom, and we want to expand our presence in there. So we are actually looking to open offices and have a kingdom entity within probably in the first couple of weeks of January. We're at the last stages of that, so that'd be quite absolutely amazing.
That's some achievement. It's brilliant. Well done, Naeem. We have a question actually. What are the key data quality and integration challenges you've encountered?
Oh, that's a great question. So data governance is fundamental to all of this. So in terms of data quality, what we're working closely with, so there's a data governance team within KAUST, and what we're doing is working with them to make sure we've got, we have the right integration standards. So whether our APIs are open, sorry to be little bit technical, but whether our integration, what kind of open standards are we using for our APIs? How do we make sure that there's interoperability, that where different systems can talk to each other? So we do that by making sure that we've got a good, we're working with KAUST to create a good data governance board and put in standards and policies and procedures, and also data quality, and also data security is obviously key, because this data is primary IP for KAUST. So we're working with InfoSec and IT, and making sure that they've got very I would say very high standards for data security as well. A lot of it is based on something called zero trust security. So we're implementing all of those IT controls to make sure that those things happen. And data quality is kind of quite close to my heart anyway. In my past life, I had been a chief data officer for the government in the UK. So I appreciate that question. Thank you.
We actually have another comment from Dara. Hi, Dara. Delighted to be here. It's an interesting topic. I'm a contact center consultant. I'm wondering if a digital twin, if it's a dynamic, predictive, and diagnostic tool, could anticipate and address challenges, optimize operations, and ultimately deliver a more responsive and satisfying customer experience. Is that possible?
Yeah, so it is. Yeah. So customer satisfaction is. We're not working on with direct retail as such, individual customer satisfaction, but absolutely. I mean, if you look at the use cases, they're quite. It is quite incredible because not only do you have to. It's not all about manufacturing and optimizing for production of goods. If we look at other areas, we can build better products. So if manufacturing can help, digital twinning can utilize digital twinning capabilities to plan and build products. That's customer satisfaction indirectly because you get much better products. It's probably worth mentioning some of the other areas. So energy grids is an amazing. I'm quite close to the energy sector because I've spent so many years there. If we look at National Grid within the UK, or look at any of the other electricity system operators, you have a particular grid and you want to optimize that, not just to plan, but also how to build it in a lot of areas like the Middle East. They're starting from scratch. So how do you build that from scratch? What's the optimal way? And how do you modify things so that the grid is more rigid and efficient and things like that? And even so, one of the if you look at the coral restoration, if you look at that kind of sort of cross pollinates into fisheries and ecosystems within marines. So all of that. And which also leads to agriculture. So we can optimize crop yields by making sure that there's efficient fertilizer and water usage. So yeah, there is so many, and you talked about end customers. So one of the clients we're talking to at the moment is they've got over 40,000 social housing, and they want to hit net zero on their CO2 emissions. So being able to put in IoT devices in that social housing while making sure that data privacy is maintained, and you can report that back, and you can see which parts of the social housing, which your housing, maybe there's a group of houses which are quite old and they might need windows replacing, some may have damp, some may have mold, some may have older boilers. So you can run those scenarios, and you can forward project and say, okay, well, if we were to upgrade all our houses with the latest boilers and install, I don't know, solar panels and various other, if we were to do these steps, how quickly would it bring in our net zero CO2 emissions? When could we hit our target earlier? And if we didn't invest, what would it do? Yeah, the use cases are immense, to be honest. It's hard to think of where you couldn't have a use case. Wherever you've got a physical entity and an environment, you want to simulate that, and you want to create sort of a digital version of that, so you can play around with the digital version and use it to predict. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks, Dar, for that. Jerry says, good explanation about the coast coral restoration. You sound like a coral expert. Yeah. Naeem, Naeem is a little bit humble. I don't think people realize, Naeem, tell us a little bit about, if I go back a little bit, this is a huge achievement for you to be involved in all of this, but, it wasn't always like that, was it? Can you just tell me a little bit about Naeem? How you started?
Yeah, sure. I just want to say thanks, Jerry. Jerry's by the way, he's from Cowston. He's leading the Cows Coral Reef Initiative. So, and it is very flattering to hear him say that I'm a coral expert. Hopefully, I'm thinking he's being sarcastic, but I'll take it as a compliment, right? So about me personally, yeah. So Sam, I wasn't expecting that question. That's not on the list of questions we had, right?
No, but I just
No,
think
I'm just joking.
no,
I'm just joking.
because people might think, especially business owners watching, that this is unattainable, that maybe
Yeah,
they can't express.
no, it's fine. But yeah, of course. I'm only joking. I'm more than happy to talk. So yeah, my background. So a little bit about myself. So my parents migrated here in the early 60s. I was born here in Aldershot, and I was born and brought up. My dad was a labourer. Um, he was a lathe turner. So I come from a humble background, and that's where.
And there you are now. You're hanging out with people
Well,
in Saudi Arabia and stuff. But just for any business owners watching, keep at it. And if you're an expert in what you do, like you are, like Naeem is and his team, at Digicore, anything is possible. So Mark is asking, what are the key technology components of a digital twin?
oh, Mark should know. He's our CTO, right? I think he's just trying to catch me out. I think
He is. He is. I can see
yeah.
you've lovely background noise there as well. So
Yeah. So
are the
no,
key.
it's definitely worth answering that, because so look, if you take any scenario, you've got real-time operations on the left-hand side, and if you imagine from left to right, so any real-time operations, if you want to create a digital version of that, you would attack IoT sensors, which are quite easy to attain these days, and they're economically viable, and they're very good. If you just look at your phone, it has so many devices, IoT devices. So on the left, you capture all the information of any physical environment using IoT devices. You transfer that typically via the internet these days across to what we used to be called a big data platform or a data platform. And once you've got the data there, you've got one sort of central repository of all your data. So you've got a single source of truth. And once you've got the data there, then you have that live streaming. So that's data continually coming in. So IoT devices, transmission of data, and then a big data platform of some sort to store all your data. And then you've got, once you've got the data there, you can obviously monitor what's going on in this case, if it's a coral reef, you can monitor what's going on in the reef in real time. And you may have some visualizations which give you those, what's happening and create that situational awareness. But where digital twins really take their own is, and after that you can start using algorithms and AI in particular these days. Of course, it is the flavor at the moment, and you can train your algorithms to start mimicking the behavior of what the physical and real environment is doing. And once they're trained and there's sufficient data to train them and they're trained up, then you can start predicting what may happen. So that's a key component of digital twinning. One is the live streaming, and the second is the behavioral aspect of the physical environment. And that was something that was done, mathematically in the past, but now it's we've got deep learning and we've got all sorts of algorithms that can mimic that behavior. So once that behavior is mimicked, then you can start saying, okay, if we were to do X, Y, Z to the physical environment, what would happen based on our algorithms and look at it digitally. Once you've simulated that, then you can feed that back and change the physical environment and then have like a feedback loop. So those are probably the key areas. Other components, I would say visualization is key, because these days more and more, if you want to take if you look at this coral reef restoration, if you wanted children at school to anywhere around the world, they wanted to take a virtual dive, you could put on your 3D, your VR headset, and you could take a virtual dive and you could have a look at that. Look at what's going on within the coral. And, you could even have adopt a coral. So you've got a particular coral so you can watch it. And so those are, I'd say, with the key components.
Okay, okay. And apologies, folks, for the background noise. We don't know what other people are going to be doing in the building.
Sorry, it's my neighbours. They've got something going on in the garden, and I did advise them not to, but it's
Sure,
sorry.
look,
Apologies.
we don't mind. We don't mind. We can still see you. We can still hear you. Les has asked, what are the cost benefits to clients of
Yeah,
digital?
that's a great question, isn't it? Because ultimately you're doing this so we do it for obviously helping with the environment and helping with reducing the impact of climate change when it's specific to um, sustainability. But so that there's value proposition from sustain. Obviously, that value is hard to quantify when you're doing something which reduces CO2 emissions. But from digital twinning, where you look at take for example National Air Traffic Services. So at the moment there's a health and safety, because if you train an air traffic control officer on live flights, that's a risk. So there's reduction in safety, and then if you look at how long, what it costs to train an air traffic control officer, it's quite significant. It's a significant amount of money. So you're saving on training costs as well. And I would say, so what the percentage benefits are in net return will depend on the use case that probably you're utilizing. So in certain scenarios, you'll get much more benefit than other scenarios. And the more data you have, the more accurate you can make your more historical, I beg your pardon, data you have, the better you can train your digital twin, the more accurate its outcomes will be. So the more precise it will be. And where you've got for grids, you're also talking about predicting maintenance and being able to replace things before they clunk out, so you haven't got outages if it's a grid system. So there are huge benefits, but I don't want to cop out, but it depends. Is probably the answer.
Yeah. And Jerry's similar kind of, what are the value propositions for businesses to consider using digital twins? So I suppose it kind of depends on the scenario as well, does it?
Okay. I think somebody's saying they've lost the video feed. Maybe I don't know.
No, don't worry about that. It's probably just Wi-Fi. So what are the value propositions for businesses to consider using digital twins? Kind of the same.
Yeah, it's in the same, isn't it? The cost benefit and value proposition. So really, you're looking to significantly increase health and safety, and you're looking to optimize efficiencies in the production of things, be that manufacturing production, be that agricultural, and you get to scenario play. So you can roll things forward and see what's going on, and look at projections, and then change your strategy and say, well, this is much more optimal. So that's the idea.
Okay, and I know it's probably a bit distracting for you with the background noise. Don't worry, Naeem. We'll keep going and we'll wrap up soon. We'll wrap up soon, just folks, so we were supposed to have a special guest, David. So David, unfortunately, wasn't able to join us today, but I will be asking you about the work that he's doing with the Digital Twin Consortium. But there is a question: how are you guys overcoming the risk of model drift over time? I don't even know what that question means.
So who asked that? That's a very technical and great question. So how do we overcome model drift over time? So what they're saying is, as you have AI models deployed, as the data changes, they become less accurate. So typically we'll have a machine learning environment.
Okay. Yeah.
And what it will do is it will have some accuracy parameters, and the model is continually being tested against that accuracy. And the minute we start seeing drift, you can start retraining the model on the data that's changed. So the idea is, I think it's called MLOps these days, but effectively you automatically detect that a model is drifting, and then you retrain it and you redeploy it automatically. That would be the perfect scenario. But that That's a great question, because that's something that a lot of companies don't realize. It's not like typical software development. It is something that, even though nothing within this it doesn't have a bug, but the fact that the data has changed, or the profile of the data has changed, it can make the model less accurate.
Great. Well, everyone's happy with your answers anyway, so you're well able for the questions. Well done. Digital twinning expert here, I think. So tell us about the work that the Digital Twin Consortium is doing, and David.
I can't quite do justice to David, because he's quite a guru in that field. But I can tell you how they're helping us. So Digital Twinning Consortium, they've got, they've done some great work over the years, and what they've done is they've made some standards. They've made frameworks. They've created policies and procedures and standards all around digital twinning. We've even looked at their architecture reference models, and that means that the beauty of that is there's somebody somewhere saying, okay, this is how things are done with digital twins, if you want to design a good digital twin. And people can, if the more people that conform to that, the more standardized we are in our ways of working, and the more even digital twins can potentially talk to each other. So yeah, they've done some great work, and I think one of the key things that they've done is I feel is they've created awareness, and that's helped companies like us, because whenever something new comes in, people say, oh my God, here's another thing. First it was big data, and now we've got digital twins. So it's very important to see what the benefits are, and with what they've done, companies like ourselves, it's helped us because it's accelerated the market to increase adoption of digital twins and raise awareness and improve that interoperability, that's used to allow how systems can talk to each other. So it's a shame Dave's not here, but no doubt we'll catch up with him on another session, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone who's watching, and thank you so much everybody for tuning in. If you have any question before we wrap up, please put it in the comments and I'll ask Naeem. So for you, Naeem, like where do you see the future? The future of digital twinning.
Yeah, so it's at the moment, it's so digital twins are, they're only going to get better. So some of the other things that, initially came artificial intelligence, which impacted the behavior of digital twins, and it allowed them to simulate the behavior of a physical object. But we're all talking about what ChatGPT's done, and so large language models is the next thing. And DigiCorp, we're working on a product. Actually, we're working our own digital twin product. And the idea is, and a machine learning platform. And the idea is we have pre-built components. And the idea is it allows our clients to gain speed to market by utilizing our product. And it'll help them optimize their operations more quickly. It allow them to create situational awareness and deeper insights into their operations, into their business. So large language models is a big thing at the moment. So at the moment, what typically, once you've got all the data, you generate these reports, and you say, okay, so based on this, I want to create a report which shows me this, and then you may have a finite number of reports, and then maybe you've got some customizable reports as well, and then maybe you can. But if you can start interacting, if you get the data and you train your large language model on all the data within a particular environment, then you can start asking questions in natural language form, rather than trying to create reports which give you the answers. You can say, how much did I don't know, over the last week, what was the growth rate of whatever it is that I'm monitoring, compared to a year ago, and you can ask straightforward English questions, and you'll get answers back based on that data. So that, I think, is going to be very powerful, and we're going to see quite a bit of that over the coming years. And we're certainly very excited about getting involved in that and creating that as a feature on our product, on our digital twin product. Absolutely.
So that's great. And if anyone wants more information, if you go to digicore.com, it's underneath here in the ticker. Is there anything you want to add yourself there, Naeem? Because where do you want to take Digicore in 2025?
Yeah, so look, 2025 for us is potentially, if you look at the runway we have and the potential clients, and it's exactly where I want to take it, and that is really deep dive into sustainability and work with our clients to help them to achieve net zero, help them achieve net zero earlier than they otherwise would do, and help them optimize their operations, and do things around sustainability. So whether it's fisheries or whether it's
Housing as well.
other,
Housing.
yeah, absolutely. It's and we want to grow in the right direction. So sustainability for us is so our motto is leading the global charge of for sustainability through digital innovation, and that's definitely the direction I want to stay.
I love that, leading the global charge. Well done, Naeem. Thank you so much. I know that you had a bit of a distraction there with the noise, but I think everybody got a lot of information from that, and we will definitely do one of these again. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. And Naeem, thank you. And we hope everything works out okay for David, and we will get David on next time.
Yeah, I hope it all works out, David. And thanks everybody for joining. Really appreciate it. And again, apologies for the noise. Next time I'll have a closer word with my neighbour. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.